What's up YouTube, welcome back to MMOSWORLD. We're taking a first impressions look at Albion Online. This of course is sort of an isometric sandbox MMORPG made by Sandbox Interactive, which first came out in about 2017 I think with their early access launch. And now this year, 2019, in April in fact, the game went free to play. So all you need to do is sign up for an account. You can jump in and start playing right away. So what we're going to do, we're going to be spending about 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 minutes maybe jumping into Albion Online to check what your first steps are going to be in this sandbox world, and we'll walk you through some important concepts as well. So here we are in the character creation. Once you log into your account, the first thing you'll notice is, yes, you're going to have to create a character. Now, one thing about Albion is the graphics, you'll notice, isn't going to blow your mind away. It's going to be as simple as you like. So think of it as sort of inspired by RuneScape and Ultima and games like that, which is exactly what Albion is. The developers have said that those two games are really what they were thinking of when they're trying to create a modern sort of sandbox MMORPG. And in this game, if you die in a PvP contested zones, which are based on colors, so blue and green are sort of like your safe zones where PvP can happen, but it's mutual. But once you get out to the yellow and red and black zones, and then there's full loot on death. So we'll talk about all that later on. So let's go ahead and pick an avatar. You only have a few to pick from, and it's not much honestly, so you're not really going to be impressed by character creation here, but you can do male and female if you want to. I think the female face is a lot more defined compared to the male, so let's go ahead and I guess we'll stick with that, and let's hit next. Now you don't get to pick like your starting armor or anything, but you can pick hair. So let's just see, skin color fairly basic, hair fairly basic as well. What's next? Underwear color, or no, type of underwear. You have several. We'll go with that, and you can pick that color too. Now you're not going to be in your underwear a lot, of course, because Albion Online uses a classless system, so you don't really pick your class here in the character creation, which is why it's fairly bland and basic. But it all comes through gear, and we'll go through that in the tutorial, so we'll see you in game. Alright, here we are. We have just woken up on a beach somewhere, and the first step is left or right mouse click on the ground to move and hold it to continue moving. So fairly basic here. Your WASD is not bind to movement, so you'll have to use other things for that. The chat is at the bottom corner. Let's take a look at the UI real quick. At the bottom here you have your settle up and dismount button. You have your basic skill attacks 1, 2, 3. You have a men wound healing button, out of combat heal, and a sprint button as well. And then you have a potion slot, or consumable for potion and consumable for food. Now if you take a look at the top right of your screen, you'll see a bunch of other things which are all blocked out right now. We got to play through the tutorial. There is sort of an objective quest log here for the tutorial, but it is only for the tutorial, and we'll talk about why later on. And at the bottom right is your radar, your minimap, with a bunch of things. You can check ping, you can open up the area and world map and things like that. So let's go ahead and move forward with the tutorial. Now it's interesting I say that because Albion Online, when it first launched its early access, which I was a part of, we were part of that, the tutorial wasn't really that fleshed out. So it's pretty basic, teaching you really rudimentary things, movement, crafting, that's about it. So this tutorial that we're about to do goes in depth, so all this is new. This entire tutorial section is new. If you've never played the game since early access, which is about 2 years ago, a lot of what you'll see is pretty new. Take for example questing. This guy here with the question mark, this is a quest system designed for the tutorial, which you will not see once you leave the tutorial island. It's only for the tutorial to integrate new players that are maybe too familiar with theme park MMOs and their questing system. So let's go ahead and talk to this guy. Alright, he's a crafter, another survivor. I'm glad you survived. I wasn't so lucky, broke my arm, and you do see that actually when you zoom in. He's wearing an arm strap, that's cool. So let's go ahead and complete this. Next, let's gauge our situation. This tower seems like a good lookout. We're gonna climb the lighthouse and look for a ship. Check the bridge for enemies. Okay, cool. So one thing you'll notice is that this very basic early quest has nothing to do with much later on. In this tutorial, yes, we'll learn how to fight. We'll learn how to gather resources, which is a very important element in Albion Online. Crafting is king here. And with crafting gear, every city that you go to, if you open up your map, I wonder if we can see the world map here. Let's see. Yeah, this is the world map. So we are there, and this is a huge world. Albion is. You have many starter towns, and you know some of the higher tier towns. Guilds can fight for territory, of course. So whoever owns the town, you can do things like charge taxes and whatnot. And yeah, pretty cool. So crafting, you can buy gear that's crafted by other players, and that's primarily it. And every town will have its own localized economy. So if you kill a mob down here that has a unique item or a unique thing that isn't available across the seas, you can make a lot of money if you travel to the other town and sell that unique item there. So it's a localized economy, and that's unique to Albion in terms of how to play that trade and economy game. So alright, now it's teaching us how to use some spells. 6 of course is our boost, so let's go ahead and hit the boost button, and you'll run faster. And you definitely want to keep all this in mind, because there will be ganking later on, of course. Alright, heretics, you need a weapon. Okay, so let's gather rough stone, rough logs, and return to the lighthouse. So do we have... No, we don't, but later on you'll need tools for this. So if you see a resource, let's light it up like that. You can start crafting. Gathering, I should say. Now, they don't light up like that once you're out of the tutorial. So, and because the game is so popular right now, because of the free-to-play, you'll be competing with a lot of other players for resources. That's just the way it is. And tools and tool progression is going to be important here. So for example, you start with tier 2 tools, which is pretty slow if you're trying to farm tier 3 materials. So you'll need to update that and carry on. Alright, anyway, we've got the next part of the quest here, which is give the resources to the blacksmith, and he will help you craft a weapon. But we will be given a shield, and clicking on it, it will show you what stats you have for all your weapons. And because the game is classless, like I said, the system's classless, you can mix and match some really cool stuff. You could be a mage wielding a staff in one hand and a shield in the other if you wanted to, wearing heavy armor. That's cool, but you'd be gimping yourself for doing that. So let's go ahead and craft the beginner's broadsword, which needed the crafting mats that we went out and got. So let's go ahead and craft that. And done. So it will be in your inventory here, which is all about weight management. You don't want to be carrying more than what your weight limit is. But once you get your first mount, and you can get like transport mounts too, like oxes and other heavier type mounts, then you could pack them with lots of items. So let's go ahead and equip that. Now, because the game is classless, a lot of your skills and abilities actually come from the gear that you're wearing. So swords will have multiple skill slots where you pick a different type of skill. So I'm going to go for Heroic Strike, which is a single target attack, whilst Heroic Cleave is an AoE, which will come in handy. And the cool thing is you can change which skill your weapon and gear gives you outside of combat. So you're not always going to be stuck with your singular choice. So I'm going to go with that. And now you'll notice that my first skill is right there. It just takes some time to reset because you've just selected it. Let's go ahead and turn this in, and we are going to get the shield now. So let's go ahead and equip those stuff and go kill the heretics and the enemies that we saw on the bridge. And that's that. That reflects in your character as well. You get to see that. There's no like dying system in game or whatever, so don't expect a cool cosmetic system. And this doesn't happen, of course. There's no timer like that. This is just for the tutorial. Now to attack, simply left click on an enemy, or you can hold spacebar to auto attack, And when you see your off cooldown there, hit your heroic strike, and it does of course do some good damage. All enemies will drop, especially if they're human enemies, they will drop silver. And that's the main currency in Albion Online. Used to buy everything on the marketplace and also fix gear and pay for rent and things like that. And ooh, looky here, the destiny has been fulfilled. I'm now a novice adventurer. So this is probably the most important aspect of Albion that you want to know about, which is the destiny board, because this has to do with character progression, and this tutorial here is teaching you exactly what it is. So it consists of nodes, which are all those circular things that you see. Those are the nodes that shows progression and skills of your character. So you unlock nodes by gaining fame. And where does fame come from? Every activity that you do in game will earn you fame. So I just killed one heretic, for example, and that will net me on usual maybe 4 silver and 5 fame, that kind of thing. So the more you harvest resources, you get fame too. So yeah, which is exactly what they're explaining here. And the more fame you earn, so things like trainee fighter, that will increase. And at certain level rewards, like level 1, then I'll get to use all these tier 2 items locked behind that. And at level 5 or level 10, I'll unlock the next tier. So that's how gear progression works, but skill progression is pretty much the same way. So for crafting resources, killing enemies, of course, then you train the combat side of things, which has to do with weapons and gear. But if you're doing crafting, like gathering wood or gathering stone, then you're going to progress your crafting side of it. Same goes for potion making, same goes for taming and breeding animals and farming and all that good stuff. And fishing too, by the way. There's fishing. So there's that. And then details can be viewed by selecting a node. And that is your unlock requirement. So that's the amount of fame that you need to get overall. And you can of course track them, and that'll be put at the right side of the screen there, as you can see. Progress is there, so you can always see what's going on the right side of the screen, and that's that. So, you know, the one thing that people love to do is straight away go for a crafting tool proficiency, which is to hit this one. Gather 250 points of fame to gather T2 resources, which means you can start using tier 2 pickaxes and whatnot, and then later on you can get better tools and things like that. Same goes for the resources. The more tier 2 fiber or whatever you gather, then the more tiers of these resources you can use. And all of this is really important. But one of the biggest tips I can give new players is to compartmentalize. What do you want to do? While it is possible to be proficient in everything from combat to breeding horses to crafting, it's going to take a long time if you want to master everything. So lots of people usually join a guild and specialize in something. So the guild will have its own dedicated potion makers, dedicated food makers, horse breeders, weapon crafters, and things like that. And there is a housing system and a guild housing system, an island essentially, where you can purchase and build your own crafting stations, which simply means you don't have to pay taxes to use another one in town that's built by another player. So here it explains perfectly. You're in the tutorial area, but there are other players around. As you can see, this guy's another player, and now the chat is beginning to move. And so this is essentially what other towns will look like. For example, this is going to be your auction house here, this guy, which I can't talk to yet because I haven't unlocked that. So never mind, let's go and do the main tutorial here. Let's speak to Tia. The story here is that their ship is the only last hope to get to the Albion continent, and we need to help them fix the place up. So go to the marketplace, buy a mount, and find the wounded crafter. Right now, the marketplace is unlocked. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. So this is where you're going to be selling and buying items that are localized to that town or area. So, I mean, it's all the tutorial, so there's a standard price. I don't have... Okay, I have enough for a novice's mule, a donkey, so let's go ahead and buy that real quick. That's pretty cheap. Okay, once it's done, it'll be in here. Take the item, and let's see the mount system in play. You just drag it up there, and now I'm able to summon my donkey. And there you go. Which is pretty decent, but it doesn't have a lot of carry weight, of course, because here you can see the donkey stats. For weight, it can carry a 60 kg max load, which in the tutorial area is decent enough, I suppose. But later on, you'll have armored mounts with skills to do, and some of them, like the ox, will have a lot of weight limit, so you can craft all day and go back to town and process that gathering stuff. Right, so now what? Go to the marketplace. Yep, let's turn that in. Okay, next up, we're gonna acquire one beginner's axe, pickaxe, and axe. Let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so to acquire these two items, I need about 6 stone and, well, I already have some wood, so 4 wood. So simple enough. Just get off your mule and pick up stuff. Now the reason why your donkey or your horse stays in the vicinity and there's a large circle, that simply means that within this area you can pick up resources and not feel the weight limit because your horse is in the area. So it's understood that the weight limit is sort of mitigated there. So let's see if I have enough. It should be enough. 1 more stone, which I can get here. Alright, that should do it. Now let's go and craft those 2 items. So let's craft 1 here and the axe as well. And done. Now you'll notice that when you have your crafting tools, it's not like sandbox survival games where you need to equip them every time you want to farm a resource. No, they'll be a bit too clunky and too tedious. So as long as they're in your inventory bags, you will get the bonuses of this, which is basically you harvest them quicker instead of using your bare hands. So let's go back and turn this in. Okay, complete. Next up, open a world map by pressing the button and return to Silas. So this is a tutorial of the world map, the entire continent. So regions in Albion are called clusters. And once you open a cluster, or you just click on a town, basically, you can see what it has. So this is the tutorial area, and this is exactly what it looks like. People can put up forges and other crafting stations, and you'll see the taxes and usage fees, all important stuff because it's all part of the game's economy. And yeah, you can read the stuff in your own time if you're deciding to jump in. But the most important things are, like they're saying there's different biomes in the world of Albion, from swamplands to mountains, and each biome will have a different type of resources that's only unique to that sort of biome. So if you want to get cotton, maybe, or high tier cotton that's only available in the highlands, then that's where you gotta be. Or you gotta hope that someone is brave enough or has a trading business that transports cotton from their part of the world to the other part of the world. So it's very sandbox in that nature, which is pretty fine. Okay, anyway, our next part of the quest here is to go to the forest, gather birch logs, and rugged hide from foxes. Now this one's going to be a real pain in the ass because skinning animals is a tough one. You're going to be competing with lots of other players, but birch logs are easy. So these 2 are basically guards that protect the area, and when you get to the real Albion continent, once PvP and GVG takes place, all these guards are important because there will be a reputation system where the more people you kill and things like that, your reputation goes down if it's not a mutual PvP. Anyway, here we are attacking a little foxy, and once we kill animals in game, we can then skin them for hides. And while I'm doing this, other players cannot jump in and immediately take my hide because there's a protection system. Like whoever killed these 2 foxes here didn't skin them, so it's protected for 1 minute, as you can see on the screen. So I'm not going to wait for that. We'll go get some birch logs. These are birch, of course, so the different named and different tiers of resources will look different, obviously. So the normal wood is just normal wood, but this colorful tree thing is birch. So now that we have what we need, let's go back to Silas and turn this stuff in. Now, that's not it really, because there's going to be lots of other resources later on. Like I said, cotton, limestone, and then you've got the metalworking ones, tin and copper to begin with. So once that's turned in, now we can go and do copper and fiber, as I was saying. So for that one, we went to like sort of the foresty areas. Now we're going to go into the mountainy areas, as you can see with the snow biome and everything. And while it is a sandbox world, it's not all interconnected where, you know, loading screens are not there. There are loading screens which, you know, you're going to have to deal with. And the reason for, I suppose, the graphics looking like this is, you know, Albion Online had a big dream to start off as cross-platform, multi-platform type game. So they wanted to put it on iOS and Android so you can play this on your iPad and your mobile phones, and I think it's still working. I'm not sure, but we were playing this on the PC. Now, notice that every time I do that, harvest, my fame goes up by 4, which is why it's important that you do a lot of these things if you want to progress faster, or else it could take you a very long time to grind. So we are done with gathering cotton. Now let's go look for copper, which could be hard to find, but there it is. There's a bunch of copper nodes. Let's go ahead and grab them before other players jump in. As for the colors there, if it's a full 9 out of 9 means that is a mint conditioned resource. You can harvest it for a long time. But if you see it at, you know, half, 6 out of 9, it's going to start at the yellow bar, which means the resource node is sort of replenishing, and it will be better if you just find a full node. So now that it's done, let's head back to Silas, turn that in, and see what the next part of this questing tutorial is going to be. It's a good thing that loading's pretty quick. Alright, turn it in, done. And lastly, this is going to teach you how to process the resources. So cotton, for example, will need to go to the weaver and smelter for all your copper and stuff. I mean, it's really basic at this point, but it is important to know all this stuff. So I can now, I've got 15 copper. Let's turn that into ore, as you can see. Ore bars. Great. Next up, we go to the, I believe this is the tanner for the fox hides earlier. Yep. So let's go ahead and turn that into leather. All your raw resources need to be processed before you can use them for crafting armor and gear and things like that. Let's go ahead and craft planks. Wait, was planks part of it? Doesn't matter. Let's just craft planks anyway. And what's next? The weaver. This is cloth that you want to turn your cotton into. And every time you process, you also get fame, as you can see. That's moving up. So let's see, where are we? Oh, I suppose now all these resources are going to be used to fix the ship. Yep, there we go. All we gotta do is hit the plus button here, and that's automatically gonna take itself. Now the thing is, this sort of mechanic also teaches you, in a way, how to build buildings, because that's what's gonna happen. You put the building down, and then you'll have a requirement of how many resources you need, and then you gotta manually click it to donate these resources. And now the ship is done. Woohoo! Let's go and talk to Tia over here and see what's up. The rewards for this will be learning points and carrot soup, which is an out of combat regen. Pretty important in the early levels, I suppose, if you're doing lots of dungeoneering. Alright, so that part is done. That's one big part of Albion Online that the tutorials covered, which is resource gathering, resource processing, and crafting. Now the second big part about Albion is about to begin, and that's the combat and learning how to fight and things like that. So let's go ahead and hit accept. So what we're going to do is go to the outpost and steal the heretic maps. Oh, I've just gained learning points too. Excellent. So the tutorial now is going to tell you about learning points, which is pretty important down the line. So top of the destiny board, which is up there, that's highlighted, the book with the plus sign, and the line in progress bar indicates that the learning point threshold, which is here. Once the line is passed, learning points can be used. What are they? In its simplest form, they are autocompletes. So basically, once you get past this line, instead of 1003, it could be, you know, you've passed the 400 mark. So you spend one learning point to autocomplete level 1, and then we'll move on to level 2. Basically. So yeah, there you go. Losing your looting points will complete the node. So it's a shortcut. And the thing about it is, unfortunately, for free players, you only get a certain amount that you can earn every day by doing daily activities. And daily activities, oh, it's not here, is it? Yeah, you can't see it right now in the tutorial, but there is a daily challenge thing where every day you can earn about, I think, 10,000 or 5,000 fame, which will earn you 5,000 challenge keys, and that unlocks your loading points, basically. Premium players, on the other hand, get it for free, which means you are paying money to get a premium status, which gives you more fame per kill, more resources gathered, and the ability to buy your own island and things like that. So being a premium player is almost necessary, if you will, to be competitive in Albion Online. But you don't have to spend real money to get premium. The thing is, there is an in-game system that lets you convert silver, the in-game currency, to gold, which is a premium currency. Then you can use that gold to buy premium, or you could just spend your silver to buy premium. I think 30 days of premium in silver is about 3 million silver. So if you're in a very active guild and you're getting lots of rare stuff to sell, you'll be rich pretty quick. Anyway, here we are at the heretic camps. We're gonna try and look for maps. Let's go ahead and get rid of this guy real quick. So there's going to be different types of enemies in the world of Albion Online. This is the tanky type. He has a shield, and he has an ability now, which basically you can see he's blocking my attacks. So if you happen to have an interrupt skill, you can interrupt him real quick. So I'm going to ditch the donkey and go on foot now. Here's the rogue archetype, and down there, that's the mage archetype, which another player has, of course, gone ahead and attacked first. There we go. This is the mage archetype. Now all of them, yep, there we go, will have some sort of a attack in advance. Ooh, okay. Here's a lighted area. Let's kill this dude, take the maps, and we're done. And for all the silver that drop, we can only pick it up once you're out of combat. Kill the heretics until you reach the learning point threshold of the trainee combat node. That's the objective right now. So I need a few more. So basically, just keep killing in this area until you hit the learning point threshold, which can be annoying, especially when the free-to-play launch happened. There was just so many players here. But the good news is the respawn rate was handled really well. These enemies, they die fast, but you know, they come back pretty fast too. Now I'm keeping track of it, of course, and let's see if I can get it. And I don't need to finish the entire 1003, guys. That's not what we learned so far. Remember the whole thing about the learning point? I just need to hit the threshold there. So let's see how long that takes, and hopefully we don't bypass our half-an-hour mark, which I think we are about to do anyway. Alright, so now... Alright, this is one of my pet peeves with Albion. You cannot rotate the game world. So if you're going to fight behind a large wall like this, then you're going to fight behind a large wall. You cannot do anything about it, unfortunately. But you do get to see the outline of your character there, which is a pretty annoying design for me. But, see? You... Oh, that belongs to somebody else? Never mind. Okay, let's go down here. Let's kill a bunch of these guys and hope we hit the threshold. Now, in situations like this, you'll notice that my main attack is a single target, as I said at the top of the video. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna open up the character sheet here and change the skill to the AoE. So now we will kill things or do more damage evenly faster. So let's go and put that to use. And learning point reach, we have hit it. So once we spend the learning point, which is just that, boom, we are no longer a training fighter. We've moved on to something else now. And it has branched out to all these gear. So that basically lets us go back to town and craft all the things that we want to get more skills. It could be a mercenary jacket for leather, or it could be where is the metal one? There we go. Or it could be heavy armor, which has its own different set of tanking properties. The cool thing about Albion is you can mix and match whatever you want. And so you could have a light mage's head, which gives you some pretty cool abilities, and then you could have a heavy tanky chest piece, which gives you some tanking abilities and some damage mitigations, and then you can have a medium armor boots, which has its own different set of properties. I mean, you can mix and match it like that. There are some really good builds out there on the forums that you can learn, especially to suit your playstyle. What are you? Are you a PvP griefer and ganker? Is that your style of play, or do you prefer to be in the big zergs and be a support player? All of this is possible. There is healing, there is debuffs in CC, there's tanking, because once you get out of the tutorial, there's going to be PvE as well, which is interesting, because when the game first launched, it was primarily a niche hardcore PvP MMORPG, but PvE is a thing. You've got dungeons, you've got expeditions to go on, and all kinds of things. And let's go ahead and turn this in. So the next part of this tutorial is going to be about crafting and how to craft gear. So there you go. Go to the Warrior's Forge and see what you can craft. And this is basically it. You are what you wear, which is the best way to put it when it comes to gearing up your character, being a classless game and all. So let's head to the makeshift Warrior's Forge, and these are the things we can craft. Broadswords, things like that. That's tier 2 now, especially. And then we go to the medium armor one. We can do bow for weapon, and all these for gear. So this is where I'm going to stop the tutorial, y'all. We're way past the half-an-hour mark. Anyway, if you want to check out Albion Online, again, it's free to play. It's on Steam as well. And if you enjoyed this walkthrough of your first steps, you can use our referral link, which we will link in the description box below, to go check out Albion. And another thing, for a bit of sponsorship content here, Albion Online is going to be a very ping-dependent game. As you look at the bottom right side of your screen, that's my ping. It was previously 300 to 290, but I got it down to 240, and on some good days I can get it down even lower. So if you're looking for a software that can reduce ping or bypass region block, check out No Ping, and we've got a link to that as well. You click on the link, you will get a 7-day free trial, or 3-day free trial, depending on which one you choose. Anyway, that's it from us. Go check out Albion Online, hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, and check out our website at mmosworld.com for more MMO news. Subscribe to the channel too. As ever, I'm Adrian from MMOSWORLD, signing out.